tired feeling great. Om Shanti and welcome to Light of Knowledge. In times of trouble, we often close our eyes, bow our heads and whisper prayers. Can God truly answer these prayers? Let's discuss this with Sister Shreya from the Brahma Kumaris. Welcome to the show, Sister.
Thank you. Om Shanti.
Sister, from personal experience, I know a lot of people who pray a lot. And most of their prayers involve asking God for certain things in their life, for certain wishes, for help. Can God really help us?
Yes, God does help us, and that is why so many of us will say that if you take one step of courage, you receive 100 steps of His help. But it also is the understanding that how God helps, Sometimes we think that if God helps, then, a child is going for an exam and he will go to temple before going for an exam. He would stand there with his folded hands, and the thing he would ask God is that make sure that I pass in an exam. And I sometimes wonder if there are two children standing in front of God and they have prepared differently. One is prepared a certain portion and the other is prepared certain portion. And what this one is prepared, this one is left. And what this one is prepared, this one is left. And both stand in front of God and ask for the same thing. That please make sure that the paper is exactly the way I have studied. I think he will be thoroughly confused. So I'm not sure the way that we ask for help, that is the way God can help us. I don't think He can just fulfill whatever we want. For example, in this case, when the child is going to God, to the temple, what he can do is, he has to write the paper. And he will only be able to write what he has studied. I don't think anything more than that or less than that. And if the paper is set the other way, I think it's not God who's supposed to be blamed, but it's the child. So in this case, what he can do is, God is ocean of power, ocean of silence. So when I spend some time with ocean of silence, my mind becomes silent. When my mind becomes silent, then my efficiency increases. Then when I go to that examination hall, I'm not experiencing a lot of fear that would normally be there, whether I'll be able to perform, not perform, what will happen, what will my parents say, what if I don't clear, what will the society say, what will be my future, All these thoughts create a lot of fear. So when I sit with God, when I sit with that ocean of silence, this mental chatter is put to an end. There is this calmness, stability, and then when I sit in the examination hall, I will be able to at least, whatever I've studied, I will be able to produce that. Because in fear, my efficiency will reduce and there are chances of forgetting. You know how children have blackout? They seem to forget everything. That's fear. And spending time in silence will help them be very calm so that whatever they've studied, at least they're able to produce to their best potential.
So it's not as if God is like this magician, who just says, okay, that's your prayer, here you go, I'm going to make it true. Because most people look at God like that, because they say that, I'm going to make a wish, and if God grants this wish, I'm going to be a very strong devotee, and then I will advocate that particular religion or God or ritual to everybody else. And if by chance that wish is not granted, then you completely lose faith and you stop connecting with that God.
That happens, like suppose in this case, the child, would have prayed and said, everything that I have studied should come in the paper. Now, it could just have been a coincidence. It happens with all of us when we're giving so many exams. It can be a coincidence that whatever you have studied is the paper. And sometimes then you feel, okay, magic. I prayed to God and now see the result. And that is where my faith becomes very, very strong. And then I start advocating. That I went to this temple, I prayed to this deity, I went to that particular place and tied the thread. This is, my wish is being granted. And then why don't you also try? That's how it grows, you know. Faith always grows on the result, when you get that kind of result. But see, it's like a mother, the child is doing the homework, or if the child is not able to do something. Now the mother cannot go give exam for the child. The mother can only help the child to become intelligent, guide the child, help the child, give him the advice, sit with the child, do everything that's in her capacity. Her capacity or her role should be to make her child intellectually strong so that the child is able to clear the exam. The mother cannot give the exam. Even if mother can give the exam, in the process, what will happen to the child?
Yeah.
The child will not grow, will not become empowered. Now, if every time we have a challenge, if every time we have a problem, and this magician who actually has the power vanishes this scene from us, we will never grow. We will never become empowered. We will never learn. We will never learn, which we say, experience is the best teacher.
But you know, sister, there are people who have prayed to certain deities, certain saints, certain prophets, and there has been magic that has happened in their lives. And it does kind of enforce that, you know, they're doing something right, maybe, that is bringing this wish fulfillment for them, that is bringing this magic in their life.
See, when you pray to somebody, of course, there is a lot of good feelings which is involved. Even if you do with pure intention, you become strong. Prayers are very beautiful. Even if you sit down and talk to God with honest heart, you will feel the power increasing. And it's your own strength that creates the magic. I don't think it's God that creates the magic, because if He was doing, He would do for everyone. But if your intent is pure, there is honesty in your prayer, then you are building that power, the power of honesty, the power of pure intent, and you also draw power from that Supreme Being. And in that powerful state, whatever actions that you do, then they result into what you want them to be, because after all, you are the creator of your destiny. So if the creator is strong, the destiny is beautiful. If the creator is weak, then the destiny is not so good.
So, are you saying that we pray with such positive intent, with such positive faith, that we are somehow able to make our own prayers come true?
Yes, because see, we can only find it as a challenge when we are weak. Any situation, see, even a situation like illness. Now, illness could be a very big challenge for somebody who is very weak. If we see our administrative head of the Brahma Kumaris, Dadi Janki ji, she is 102 years old. Very short, fragile, physically very, very weak. And if she always thought that I'm physically weak, because she is, then, you know, she could have always criticized her body and thought that how am I going to do with this vehicle? This is so weak, so many challenges, so many diseases. But with the power of mind, she's running this vehicle wonderfully. Even at this age, she's traveling. And the last time I saw her, they brought her on the wheelchair. We were all sitting, it was a gathering of many, many people, I think some thousands of people. The moment she entered, the vibration of the hall changed. There was so much joy, happiness, because there was this soul who was inside brimming with so much happiness that the moment they entered that gathering, that hall, you could feel the change in the vibration. And I remember she's sitting on that wheelchair because she can't walk, because now the body does not allow. And she says, I want to dance. And the joy, people were clapping. I saw it that, you know, one soul, when so powerful, when feeling such joy, the whole environment changes.
So that's almost like saying that we have control over matter. It's more like mind over matter. The way I think and feel, I can manifest a lot that's going on in my life.
Yeah, what I tried to say was that when there is a challenge, if you're weak, it may look like a mountain. But if you're strong, it may look very small to you, and after a while, you're totally undisturbed. And that is why you see in the similar challenge, you see people reacting in different way. It is how powerful you are, how much power you draw from him. And then the challenge could be very big for somebody, could be very small, and for somebody it's like, it's not they don't even realize, for us we would look like, how do they manage? This is another person I would like to share. I was meeting this boy, and he has this disease which is called muscular dystrophy. Now this is one disease which at least 1 in 3,500 people get. It's a rare disease. And what happens in this disease that you don't get to know that you have disease at the time of birth. So after you are 8, 9 or 10 years, your muscles start to degenerate. And once the muscle starts to degenerate, it will never grow again. So in the front of your eyes, you can see how every part of your body will stop working. So when this boy got this disease, he was just 12, 13 years old. And he was sharing, he said, I was in school and suddenly I couldn't walk properly. So it goes very slow. It goes over years. So the first thing he lost was his legs. He was on the wheelchair. A very powerful soul, quickly adapted. Quickly adapted. Okay, my legs are not working. Now I have to be on the wheelchair, but everything else is fine. Then the next, his hands. They stopped working. The only thing that works is 2 thumbs. Quickly adapted. Okay, I can't write, but I can use the technology. I can type. So he uses these 2 thumbs to type. And he is this one soul. You've heard of these papers called actuarial sciences. They're one of the most difficult thing. He has cleared all 15 of them.
Wow.
With this physical disability, having somebody to write his exams because he cannot do it. And even though, when somebody is writing for you, their speed is different. But no challenge, he did not let himself stop. And the latest when I met him, so the legs don't work, the body does not work, the hands don't work, only this work. And just a couple of months ago when I went to meet him, he was admitted again in hospital. He said, okay, that was the last time I heard him talking because now he lost his voice. So he's now around 25 and he's lost his voice. And so he cannot speak now. Can you imagine? You see yourself, it's like dying slowly, and he knows he just have a couple of more years because that's the longest that you live. But sister, if you see him, he practices meditation, connects with God, draws that power, and there is nothing. Every day he remembers God, nothing is changing at the level of disease. Of course, one thing which is changing is that degeneration process has slowed down a little. Because the mind is sending such positive energy to body, and this is 5 elements. So this 5 elements you could see is getting impacted by that positive energy, and that process has slowed down, and even doctors are quite amazed. But if you look at him, he looks like an angel. His eyes sparkle, his face is bright, and the last time I went to meet him because he cannot speak, so he writes something and I see it on the television. And then I read it, I talk, it was so wonderful, and I said, look at this soul. He has not let himself, get affected by this challenge. It is wonderful.
What an inspiration for all of us to meet somebody like that and learn from him.
Yeah, and you can meet him if you want. He lives in Bombay, but he was telling me that it wouldn't have been possible for him without connecting to God. He was sharing this story before. He said when you're physically handicapped, you're very dependent. And that dependency creates a lot of fear and creates a lot of anger. See, he's dependent to an extent that if fly sits on his hand, he cannot remove the fly. Look at the dependency. So everything from feeding to his to be made to stand for some time so that blood can flow through his body. Everything from morning till the evening, he's dependent for everything. If you can imagine, he can't remove a fly. He cannot do anything. So it created a lot of anger, resentment, and hatred for God. But when he was introduced to spirituality, he realized that this was the only place which could give him power to deal with this vehicle. And if he keep that hatred and if he keeps hating God, then where will he get the power to deal with this challenge? He realized that, and the life changed. The life quickly changed for this boy.
Wow. It's a very beautiful story, sister. I'm very touched to actually hear a story, because you see so many people cursing their fate if they ever have to go through something like this, and even hating God. But this person has actually gone above and beyond that situation by connecting to God.
He told me this one time that he realized that this body, because he has got this body, it has nothing to do with God. He said that was the biggest realization. For a very long time, I kept telling God that, why did you give me this kind of vehicle when everybody has such a perfect vehicle, you know? And then he realized that God is not partial, and this vehicle is some responsibility of mine, some action of mine. That acceptance released the pain, allowed him to connect to him, and then he could experience the power to deal with it.
So if you really have to get the power from God to deal with these kind of situations in life, how is it that you need to connect or pray to him? How do you do this?
The God that we, who is he is something we need to understand, because like me, like I am a soul, God is also, we say, supreme being. So he is also this light. Just like two wires, if you have to pass the current, the power, it is only possible when the rubber is removed from both the wires. It's not possible if there's rubber on one and there is no rubber on the other. You have to remove rubber from both for the current to flow. This is the same technique, and that is why we've been talking for a long time to be soul conscious. We have to go beyond this body. We have to start practicing and living in the awareness that I am a being and child of supreme being. You remove the rubber from yourself. I am a being, child of supreme being. I am child of almighty authority. I don't need to beg from God.
I don't need to ask him.
Why do you want to ask somebody? It's like if you beg your teacher, you're sitting for an exam and you beg, please tell me the answer. Do you think the teacher will be able to do that? And even if somebody is begging, how much will you give them?
The least.
The least, yes. It's the least. You don't think of giving the whole thing. When somebody is begging, it's like you just take out one coin or the least and you think your work is done. Do you want the least from God? We don't want the least from God. We don't want just a drop of love. We want the ocean of love. And that's why he tells us, I am your father, you are my child, all my inheritance is yours. Then why do we need to beg? We need to come sit with him. And then when I say inheritance, what is his inheritance is something that I have to understand. He is not ocean of degrees. He is not ocean of cars. He is not ocean of children. We are asking the wrong things from him. You go up to a doctor and you say, I have this legal case. He will say, then go to the lawyer. You go to a lawyer and you say, oh, there is this wound, can you heal? Everybody has a different role. God has a different role. His role, his inheritance is not ocean of cars, degrees or children. All the things that we ask from him, these are the things that it's okay to ask these things. It's okay to desire for these things. But this is something that you have to earn on your own. He is ocean of love. He is ocean of purity, power, compassion, love. That's how he is described in all religious texts. Not one virtue, many, many virtues. And I was sitting with the sister who was talking to me. She was a Muslim. And she said, in Quran, God has been described by many virtues. But one virtue which is repeated many times is that he is ocean of compassion. He is ocean of forgiveness. Imagine. And we think he punishes us. He is the only one who actually understands that we become very, very weak, and that is why we end up doing wrong actions. He is just waiting that you come to me so that I can tell you what is right, what is wrong, give you the strength so that you can move on the right path, not punish you, but help you reform yourself. So if I understand that He is ocean of love, He is ocean of power, He is the ocean of all these virtues, then when I sit with Him, this is what I draw from Him.
So you're saying I take, I don't ask.
I don't ask. I just sit with Him and I take it all.
I can just take how much ever I want.
How much ever you want. The whole of Him. The ocean is unlimited, and when it's unlimited, it will never end. Nobody can give you in that unlimited sense. No person.
I don't need to go and take a drop when I have the ocean in front of me. I can
Yeah.
maybe take a large bucket.
Yeah.
Something bigger than that.
Something bigger. And that is why the other thing is, He is eternal. Everybody else, maybe you're able to get something from this person, this person is very giving. So every time I go to this person, I feel very nice, I feel loved, I feel the happiness. But this person also has certain limits. And even if for the whole life he keeps giving, this person is somebody who's going to die one day, is mortal. But God in that way is eternal and takes 1 second. It's a connection with mind and intellect. You can go sit with Him, fill yourself, and then once when you're powerful, then whether you give an exam or you give an interview, you earn, then you get your cars, degrees, you can get all of that.
It's so liberating, sister, for whatever you said right now, because I have seen so many people beg from God, and now that you're saying that the relationship that I have with Him is where He is the ocean, He's the parent, and I can't imagine a child begging from their parent. I can't imagine a child going down on their knees and joining their hands and pleading and fasting. Which parent would want to see that from their child?
The child will go and sit in the lap.
And maybe demand that.
And maybe demand. And the demanding is fine, because see, if the father gets a new car and the little child say, my car.
Yeah.
So the father does not feel any sense of loss. Oh, he says, yeah, it is your car only.
Yeah.
No, he does not say, my father's car. Any new thing that he brings to the family, he says, the child, everything that's father's is mine. So it's like my car. And when he says my car, the father is happy.
Yeah.
He will not experience that sense of loss. He wants to give everything. The moment the child is born, everyone knows the father's inheritance is going to go to the child.
Yeah.
So even before you grow up, everybody knows that you're rich if your father is rich. And my father,
Wow.
richest in the world. What I've been looking out, searching, he has it all. It's just that I'm not tapping into that source and taking it all. Like you rightly said, no father would like to see their child suffer. Sometimes you adopt this method of fasting, which is very good if you do it with respect to detoxification of your body. The doctors will suggest that it's good you give rest to all the organs of the body. But sometimes we don't do it with the right intention. We think if we fast on a particular day, every week, if we don't eat anything, if we make our body suffer, God will be happy. And I don't think that is the case. It's like if your child does not eat for the whole day. It's very difficult for the mother to even take it. She's not able to sleep. Every 2 hours she'll come and say, okay, I'm sorry. Even if there's a conflict or something, I don't think mothers can take it if their children don't eat. I remember my mother would say, okay, if you don't want to talk, it's fine, but you just eat and go back to your room. So one of the reasons I think they fast is because they think that we have done a lot of wrong actions with this body. And if I give suffering to this body, it will be like a penance. But I don't think God would really want their children to suffer. He would want them to really enjoy life, have fun. And that you can only do when you're powerful. If you see, the word fasting In Sanskrit, it's called upvas. And this word means, the word upvas means being close to God. So the whole intention, even when we fast, is that we come closer to God. And if we do it with that intention, I think it is okay.
Thank you for this beautiful conversation, sister. I personally found it very insightful, and I'm sure our viewers found it very interesting as well. Thank you for coming to the studio.
Thank you. Om Shanti.
So viewers, I think it's time to take a look at the prayers we pray, to ask ourselves if we are really begging from God, or if we are really connecting with Him and taking from Him with the authority of a child from their father. I hope you enjoyed this conversation. If you have any questions, comments, or feedback, do feel free to reach out to us. Take care.